Welcome to Global Byte. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. What happens when the world's longest undefended border becomes a battleground? Once a symbol of peace and prosperity, this border is now at the heart of a crisis that threatens to reshape the very fabric of North American relations. For over a century, the US-Canada relationship has been a model of cooperation. Generations have grown up taking for granted the ease of travel, trade, and friendship that define this partnership. The border was more than a line on a map. It was a testament to trust and shared values. But today, February 8, 2026, that alliance faces its most severe test. The headlines are stark, and the mood on both sides is tense. What was once unthinkable is now reality. A bitter trade dispute, escalating from Washington to Ottawa and down to state and provincial governments, has choked a vital artery, the Alaska transit route. The flow of goods, people, and ideas has slowed to a crawl, with ripple effects felt far beyond the borderlands. Canadian provinces, led by British Columbia, have weaponized highways, proposing tolls on American trucks in response to US tariff threats. What began as a policy dispute has now spilled onto the roads, impacting thousands of livelihoods. This tit-for-tat escalation threatens to unravel the intricate web of trade and travel that binds the two nations. Every hour of delay at the border means lost revenue, missed opportunities, and growing frustration. The crisis is no longer just political, it's being felt in boardrooms, on highways, and in homes on both sides of the border. Families worry about rising prices and shortages, while businesses scramble to adapt to the new reality. The world is watching as two of its largest trading partners engage in open hostility, challenging the stability of the North American trade bloc. Allies and rivals alike are taking note, wondering what this means for the future of global trade. The Alaska route drama is a case study in modern economic nationalism, where infrastructure becomes a tool of statecraft. Roads and bridges, once symbols of connection, are now bargaining chips in a high-stakes game. Even the closest friends are not immune to the fractures of modern geopolitics. Trust, once lost, is hard to rebuild, and every action now is scrutinized for its long-term consequences. The partnership's foundations are shaking, exposing old grievances and vulnerabilities. Decades of goodwill are being tested as leaders search for a way forward. The question now: how deep will the scars run? As the world holds its breath, the future of this historic alliance hangs in the balance. To understand this crisis, we must look to the past, specifically, the long-standing dispute over Arctic sovereignty. Canada claims control over the Northwest Passage, the US insists it's an international strait. This friction over strategic corridors, land and sea, sets the stage for today's conflict. Alaska's geography makes it uniquely dependent on Canadian routes for survival, especially for high-value, time-sensitive cargo. The land route through Canada is Alaska's lifeline for fresh produce, medical supplies, and oil industry equipment. Now, that vulnerability is being exploited. Unlike past disputes, this one is decentralized. Canadian provinces are acting independently, breaking with tradition. Melting Arctic ice has only raised the stakes, making the Northwest Passage and control over it more valuable than ever. The fight over the Alaska Highway is a proxy for this larger geopolitical contest. Canada's message: it will defend its territory on land and at sea. The crisis began in March 2025, a month that would mark a turning point in North American relations and send shockwaves through both countries' economies. It all started when President Trump, in a surprise move, threatened sweeping tariffs on Canadian goods, citing what he called unfair trade practices and a need to protect American jobs. British Columbia's Premier David Eby wasted no time in responding, unveiling plans for punitive tolls on US trucks bound for Alaska, a vital supply route for the state. This bold move triggered a wave of provincial defiance as leaders across Canada rallied to defend their economies and assert their autonomy in the face of American pressure. Ontario, a powerhouse in energy exports, threatened to impose surcharges on electricity sent south, warning that American consumers could soon face higher bills. In the Yukon, officials took a different approach, restricting U.S. business contracts and halting liquor sales to Americans, sending a clear message that cross-border commerce could not be taken for granted. Ottawa soon joined the fray with retaliatory tariffs of its own, but the real story was the provinces taking the lead, each crafting their own response to the escalating crisis. Alaska's Governor Mike Dunleavy called for restraint and dialogue, warning of the dangers of escalation, but his pleas were largely ignored as Canadian provinces doubled down on their measures. British Columbia even ordered its agencies to halt all American purchases, and went further by banning alcohol imports from Republican-led states, deepening the divide. The dispute quickly became not just economic, but deeply partisan and ideological, with politicians and citizens alike taking sides in a growing war of words and policies. The era of quiet diplomacy is over. Both sides are now fighting fire with fire, abandoning the careful negotiations that once defined their relationship. The result is a conflagration threatening decades of goodwill, trust, and economic integration, leaving businesses and families caught in the crossfire. The border, once a symbol of trust and cooperation, is now a front line in a new kind of conflict, one that could reshape the future of both nations. The stakes have never been higher, as livelihoods, industries, and even national identities hang in the balance. The question now is stark: can either side afford to back down, or are both destined to escalate until there's nothing left to lose? For Alaska's 730,000 residents, supply chains are a lifeline, not an abstraction. The Canadian highway system is vital for goods that can't wait. Fresh food, medicine, and oil field equipment. Proposed tolls and border slowdowns threaten this essential route. Alaska Trucking Association's Jamie Benson warns, higher costs and delays are inevitable, and Alaskans will pay the price. Even a day's delay can mean spoiled produce and empty shelves. State Senator Robert Myers, a trucker himself, highlights the risk of food security in a state with a short growing season. Signs of strain are already visible. Border wait time systems are down, and the Hyder, Alaska inspection station is closed. These disruptions signal a fraying of the operational cooperation that keeps the border running. The supply chain siege has begun, and the consequences are immediate. Alaska's isolation has never felt more acute. The fallout extends far beyond trucking. It threatens Alaska's booming tourism sector. Nearly 2 million cruise passengers were expected in 2025, but U.S. law requires foreign-flagged ships to stop in Canada. British Columbia's ports now hold enormous leverage. Any disruption could cripple Alaska's cruise industry overnight. The economic impact would devastate small businesses in port towns, from gift shops to tour operators. Yukon's ban on American liquor hits Alaskan breweries, while Ontario's electricity surcharge threatens U.S. energy costs. The uncertainty chills cross-border investment and cooperation. Everyday citizens pay the price rising food costs in Alaska, lost business for Canadian exporters, and a climate of mutual harm. The interconnectedness that once brought prosperity now amplifies the pain. Political posturing is inflicting real economic damage on both sides. The dispute is a lose-lose scenario for everyone involved. This isn't just a federal standoff. It's a patchwork of regional agendas. In British Columbia, Premier Eby's defiant stance has rallied support for a tougher approach to U.S. trade threats. Alaskan officials, led by Governor Dunleavy, plead for de-escalation, focused on the practical impact for their citizens. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford targets U.S. energy markets, broadening the conflict beyond the West. Yukon's Premier Ranj Pillai joins in with symbolic but pointed measures, reinforcing national solidarity. These diverse voices reveal a fractured North American landscape, driven as much by local politics as national interests. Premiers are acting independently, making resolution more complex. A deal between Washington and Ottawa may no longer be enough. Any solution now requires buy-in from powerful provincial leaders. The decentralization of power has made the conflict harder to resolve. The path to peace is more complicated than ever. Trade analysts see this dispute as a dangerous break from tradition. Historically, US-Canada conflicts were managed through legal frameworks like NAFTA and USMCA. Now, provinces are launching their own retaliatory measures, signaling a systemic breakdown. Experts warn, this is part of a global shift toward transactional, nationalistic politics. Canada's aggressive response is a calculated adaptation to America First policies. But the risks are immense. The two economies are so intertwined that a trade war is economic self-harm. Legal experts question the provincial actions under international agreements, predicting a messy legal battle. The conflict is now as much about law and precedent as it is about politics. Beneath the rhetoric lies a maze of legal and logistical hurdles. British Columbia's plan for Alaska highway tolls faces major obstacles: no current infrastructure, high costs, and the need for new laws. International agreements may prohibit discriminatory fees, and legal challenges from the US are inevitable. Some argue existing way stations could be retrofitted, but the investment and legal risks are significant. The broader border operation is also at risk. Shutdowns and system failures show how quickly cooperation can unravel. These systems depend on trust and information sharing, both now in short supply. The legal and logistical maze is both an obstacle to retaliation and a casualty of the conflict. As operational goodwill evaporates, delays and uncertainty multiply. The border's finely tuned mechanics are breaking down. The cost of conflict is mounting on every front. As 2026 begins, the US-Canada relationship stands at a crossroads. The choices made now will echo for years, shaping not just trade and diplomacy, but the very sense of trust between neighbors. The world's longest peaceful border is suddenly a stage for uncertainty, and every decision carries weight. The best-case scenario is swift de-escalation, with both sides withdrawing threats and restoring trust, though scars will remain. If leaders act with courage and vision, they could set a new standard for conflict resolution, showing the world that even deep disagreements can be overcome. Yet, more likely is a protracted conflict. Tariffs and retaliations escalate, supply chains reroute, and both economies suffer. Everyday people would feel the impact, from higher prices at the grocery store to lost jobs in border towns. Alaska faces crisis, and British Columbia's economy would also take a hit. Small businesses, fisheries, and families on both sides would be caught in the crossfire, uncertain about what tomorrow will bring. A third path is uneasy détente, with a partial deal at the federal level but lingering provincial grievances and legal battles. Tensions would simmer beneath the surface as local leaders and citizens push for their voices to be heard. Cooperation on shared issues would become harder, and suspicion would linger. Even routine matters, like environmental protection or cross-border travel, could become sources of friction. The Alaska route drama is a sobering reminder. Even the strongest alliances are fragile. History shows that trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt. The border is more than a line, it's a symbol of mutual respect now at risk. Generations have lived side by side, sharing culture, commerce, and family ties. The legacy of partnership hangs in the balance. What happens next will define the relationship for decades to come. The choices made in the coming weeks will determine the future. Will leaders choose dialogue, or deepen the divide? Will reconciliation prevail, or will the border finally break? The world is watching and the stakes could not be higher. The next move is critical. The future of two nations and their shared border hangs in the balance.